are we live? Hi, guys! There were no shenanigans. Shush, Sundew, it's fine. Hi, guys! How are you doing today? This is episode 127 of Critical Reroll. We are covering episode 51 of Critical Role today. My name is Jess, and if you met me in the City of Beasts, I would totally be a Yanti pureblood.
And if you were to run into a hobgoblin with like a blue nose, you'd run into me. Hi, I'm Matt.
And if you were to run into a bugbear, because I am furry, then then they would be me. Hi, I am Ben, and welcome to Critical Reroll.
I love that. It's like, it's your big fuzzy friend, Ben. I just think that's so cute. It's just cute. So hi guys. Yeah, we are, like I said, talking 51 Critical Role, where they sort of, kind of finally made it into Jorhas, I guess. So that's a whole thing. Basically, this episode started with, the party only still slightly smoldering. They were mostly fine. They took a little tiny rest and did a little healing, but mostly they were fine. The party at this point is headed to Gordranus, but they do stop long enough to send some messages to Yeza. And they come up with a very ingenious cough system. Cough once for yes and twice for no.
I forgot that happened. Oh my god.
I thought it was very clever of them.
So good.
Because every time they've tried to talk to Yeza, he's sort of stated how he was scared to talk. And I just thought that was great. I thought that was really clever of them.
But like, do you actually have to speak verbally with message? It's not a mental
yes.
thing? Okay.
Actually,
because I know message is like you have to whisper. I don't know if sending was the same.
I think, and I can check right now, it's something we should have looked up beforehand. But I believe that sending is verbal, but it's still like so. But you hear it telepathically. So I am checking right now. You send a sword message of 25 words or less to the creature. With you are familiar, the creature hears the message in its mind, recognizes you as the sender if it knows you, and can answer in a like manner immediately. So my assumption is that because it has a verbal component to sending itself, and that it specifies that it can hear it in its mind, that it is said aloud. If that
but what
makes
if
sense.
the verbal component is just like you slap your hands together and you're like skiddly bop, and then you just think real soft thoughts to somebody?
I think based on the word
okay.
I think based on the rules that can be left up to interpretation by the DM. Cool.
Because like I don't know how you're gonna like cough into somebody's mind. It just seems weird.
Yeah, you think it coughs. I mean, even then, like perhaps someone who's not really used to that sort of magic, might be like reacting outwardly and stuff like that, whereas like just doing a cough or something like that is much more inconspicuous. It was just very clever of them, and they were able to come up with that, and then further take it into like, they were able to discover no, they're not moving him anymore. Yes, he's currently safe. And then they were able to say like, how many guards are around you? And they got 3 coughs for that one. They're like, 3 guards, we can take that, that's fine. But I mean, do you think there's anything else they should have asked? Do you think they should have been all like, cough as many times as the CR rating of people around you? Because
they're like, what if it's 3 fire giants around me?
Yeah, because what if it's 3? Exactly, what if it's 3 more fire giants? Because they had a hard time with 2 of those.
At some point, though, you get to enough coughs that you can't actually tell how many there are, and that's when you know you're screwed.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. What could they have asked that's a yes or no question? Like,
Yeah, it's difficult. Yes or no is really difficult, or like numerical, which they came up
And
with. Which
It's
is
bet-
fun as well.
and like with
I wonder how much he knows. Like, how much
Yeah.
does he actually know about what's going on here, other than it has stuff to do with alchemy that the party already knows, but doesn't really help get him out of? Like, there are questions that they can ask him later that are irrelevant to getting him out now.
That's true.
But trying to find questions that he would actually know the answers to help get him out, they probably kept him blindfolded the entire time. So I don't
Yeah,
know.
it definitely makes sense for him to not have a ton of information. And even when they would have been down in the cavern, a lot of those people traveling probably would have had. Do halflings have night vision? Or
I don't believe they
No,
do.
dark vision?
halflings do not have dark vision. Gnomes do.
So then Drow would have, for example, they wouldn't have needed to have much light on them. They could have been traveling in basically the pitch dark, almost. And even if Yeza wasn't blindfolded, he might not have seen anything. And like, what would there have been to see?
And even then, they're traveling like either on or in or next to this giant worm, so they like, didn't need to see.
Yeah. So King Sundu asked in chat, do any of them have access to Scry? I believe the answer is no.
5th level. I don't think they. I think they just got like their 2nd, 4th slot. So
Yeah,
next
they're
level
level 8s right now, which is level 8's great place to be because you get an ability scoring increase or a feat. But you still don't have access to 5th level spells yet, which I'm not sure who even would have those. I'm not sure if clerics get Scry or not.
I don't believe we do. They do.
As a
cleric. That was a weird thing.
You're totally a cleric. It's
Yep.
fine. We know. It's fine. We know.
Oh, it is a cleric spell according to King Sundu. So
and wizard.
And wizard. So they have a lot of people that could cast it.
So they just need to get that slot, and then they're fine. They can scry all day, every day.
Just gotta bone down, get that level.
Of course, this will be after they rescue Yeza, probably.
Yeah.
If they do.
Or just get your hands on a nice scry stone. Those are easy to get, I'm sure.
Like everybody's got one.
Everyone's got one. It's totally fine. Speaking of things being totally fine, whilst they're still in the caverns, they see that they're being like followed by some sort of like beak creature. It's totally fine. Don't think about it. And then they exit the cavern, and they can see some like far off in the distance, some more scary
some large
creatures.
things.
And Yasha tells them, "Don't worry about it. It's fine."
It was literally like everything the light touches, you can go, but not over there.
Yeah.
Where the giant beasts with 4 arms live.
I was actually very happy, and I don't know why, but as a player, I was really happy. Not player, I don't play in this game. As a viewer, I was very happy to see that he still made it difficult to get out of the cavern. They didn't there was still one more obstacle to get out by climbing those rocks. Because I thought that was a neat touch, because I think that like if you don't think about it, people would just be like, and you made it out. But no, like you still had to go through these tunnels, and it was still difficult.
Yeah, he's making traveling fun, which is like hard to do, but it's interesting. He's like adding like steps, and you don't know, like climbing up. He keeps giving them kind of like, Caleb falls back and like the rocks fall, and you can hear all the rocks. So it's obviously like if they fall, they're going to give away their position, and maybe there's something up top.
Yeah. That's like you guys are right. That's totally fun, because a lot of times like a lot of people only think of like D&D, and they think of either the charming as like charming or fighting sort of situations. Like you deal with it in sort of one way or the other. You don't think, but travel is a huge thing when you're an adventurer, like until you're a level where you can just like teleport all over the place. So the fact that like traveling is still an issue right now, that it's still in question, they still had to deal with it, and like they literally had to describe, well, luckily I'm behind Caleb and I can catch him, and kind of like and like or the touch that Caleb was muttering Featherfall under his breath, like kind of getting ready in case he did fall. I thought that was, you're right, that's a really good
Also, traveling with pets. Thank you, King Sundu, because Jester has her favorite companions. But yeah, and then they finally get out of the caves, and I am very excited at this point, because I'm like, hey, we got through the travel episode. Let's now do let's see the destination. And but that's okay. I think it's still very cool. The fact that they immediately meet an NPC was really cool. So,
and the fact that they didn't like immediately cause combat was great. I mean, it breaks out, but they weren't the cause technically of it.
Weren't they though?
I mean, they weren't the ones that whistled out.
Yeah.
So yeah, they step out, and Caduceus is the first one to notice something, and he actually attempts to cast blindness, which I thought was really, like, immediately everyone's, like, on alert because Caduceus is like, well, because he got a whisper, which is a lot of fun. And then he was like, well, I cast blindness, but luckily, since this turned out to be a friend, not a foe, it didn't work. But Ford bajamps over to him.
Yep.
Because that's how Ford do, and we meet this bald human. His name is called in, but don't bother remembering that name because we won't know him very long.
Oh. Sweet summer child.
Yeah.
Sorry.
What was interesting though is that when they emerged from the cave, like Matt described, really nice scenery, and like you don't expect that because your brain's still in that split of like, this is Zorhas, this is a war zone, this is actually a real cool landscape.
Yeah. Still not. It's not places that you would go on vacation. But
it's not bad.
But it's cool. It's fantasy landscape, but it's also desolate.
Yeah. Well, it's literally they call it the waste, right? They asked Yasha about it, and she's like, I'm not from this part. Just because she's Shirasian doesn't mean she knows every part, like, of the whole place.
That's like assuming that every American knows every part of America.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's
Talk to any
place.
American. That's not true.
It's a big place, guys. Like, they don't necessarily know it all. And I love that Matt brought out the map, actually, and showed them. He's like, here's sort of where you came out. And he said, and to your left, you're sort of looking north, or like basically up on that map. And so you can sort of see the range of mountains, and he sort of describes, now you can see the Broken Vale Bluffs, and it's surrounded by a marsh, and there's the Ashkeeper Peaks. And then they see the one chunk where it's pitch dark, right?
Yeah.
They see that one piece where
this is where our team needs wards.
This is where the light doesn't touch, guys.
Don't go to there.
Don't go to there.
And it's like that's the Ashgard keep that was taken. Like that's when they get the information. Like, yeah, Ashgard keep had fallen, the Jorhashans are taking it over, and then we get the information that like the darkness that they create stays there. It doesn't go along and move with them. Because I think Yasha was like, there shouldn't be darkness out this far.
This is so weird. Everything is weird.
Yeah.
Like, it's interesting to know what Matt is doing to make his campaign different. Like, that's it's really cool to see the darkness and more stuff that we're about to describe with the battle that ensues after,
which honestly to me came out of nowhere. Like,
yes,
they got ambushed and so did I.
Yeah, no, it was shocking and it was so good. It was so like, and some people posted really good gifs of like, there's some like really good ones of like a dude kind of walking forward towards like an area and just being taken down with arrows, and that's how it kind of happened in my brain. Like, as soon as Matt described it, he's like, he just gets up on the bluff for like half a second and there's an arrow in his chest, and then you hear like ping 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 of like arrows hitting rocks, and I was like, oh, everyone get down. Oh my god.
I had to rewatch that part to understand exactly what happened, because I'm like, wait, suddenly they're in a battle? What? Hold on, rewind.
And then they go through like all the stages of, do we help, do we run, do we help, do we run?
Yeah,
what do we do?
They do. Yeah. That's a good point. They absolutely do that, and it's interesting. Like, as you said, you're like, it's not their fault. Well, I mean, it's that dude's fault that he did a dumb and like stood at the top of the rocks when, like, especially because we knew like when he went to find them, he was still kind of like staying mostly hidden, and when he introduced his troop, they all hid out. They popped out, like Matt describes them, sort of like peeking their heads out of little hidey holes, like of where you wouldn't have seen them before. They're sort of like down in a dip and stuff like that. So they were all prepared and like hiding until Calden, once again, you don't have to bother remembering his name, goes to get them some equipment, or like goes to get them something, and that's when the fun begins.
Like, yeah, sure, we can help you out. We'll give you support.
Yeah. He literally goes to get them supplies. He starts getting hit. They see this volley of arrows, and that's when we hear the gibbering. And Matt's like, "You recognize this gibbering sound?" And they're like, "No!" Like,
it's
damn
familiar.
It. Exactly.
Yeah. But that's not all that's there. That's for damn sure.
And like that wasn't even the start of initiative, because they like start like, do we scout around? We want to look. We want to see what they're fighting, and then I mean, we don't know these people. We could just go. Let's just dip out.
But then, if they would have tried to run, I think they would have been pursued by.
Oh, for sure.
The other things, the Kryn warriors that were there.
Yep.
And so, how many Kryn warriors were there? I think there were
just two.
Two?
So basically, yeah, there was one described as having like armor, like being a little bit heavier armor, and was kind of like the one that was in, melee fighting with them. And then there was one described as having more like robes. Was obviously the mage. Was doing a lot of casting, and even,
and some other funky stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say when. Go ahead.
So one of the questions that we got, just from somebody that did not put their name in, and as a note, we do a question survenaire. What?
Yep.
Questionnaire.
A survenaire.
Got it in one.
Go do our survenaire, guys.
Survenaire question.
We do a Ask Critical Role Google Doc survey thing, where you can put your questions, comments, concerns, critiques, whatever, about either the Critical Role episode or for us to get feedback, etc. And we will bring all the relevant questions and whatnot up on the podcast, like this one right here from somebody who did not put their own name in. So they said, "Wow, how many unique Dunamancy effects was that?" And the answer is a lot.
A lot.
And now we're moving on.
And we're moving on. So we have like this new form of things that keeps happening. Yeah. They've got an orb that does it. They've got the word dunamis from like charred papers. And like now we see its practical effects finally after like, well, I mean, they've had the orb thing, but like this is like it being utilized in combat.
Which we heard, which is interesting because when we were back, when they were looking at Yeza's lab, right, they found the notes about how he was trying to distill the dunamis for war, but it wasn't described as what we saw. It was described as like sort of giving people benefits in battle. What we saw with this dunamis was like spells?
Hardcore shit.
It was So like new spells and like all gravity focused, which is interesting. All these new things that Matt specifically said on like as their spell names, probably to help freak the party out, were that he probably wrote all of this stuff. First of all, scary as all shit.
Yeah, like the first description of the guy, like he runs through and he jumps, and then there's two more of them, and they all three slice down and then apparate away.
Yeah.
Like the fuck.
Yeah, what and then, the gravity sphere in which people crumpled, their bodies crumpled into.
Oh no!
Like part of me, like I don't even care what these are. I just like the descriptions of how they're used.
Oh, Matt's descriptions of them were like, everyone's just like, oh, Matt, give us, what is this? Oh my god. What was the other one? The one of the really like intense ones for me is, in fact, when we lost. Don't bother learning his name, Calden. Yeah, don't bother. Basically, he did. Where was it? I had a note of it specifically. Oh, Calden gets pulled into a gravity well and shredded to bits. His body gets ripped apart to pieces. Which, thank you for that beautiful, beautiful visual, Matthew Mercer.
It's
we
like,
love you.
If
I was gonna say Overwatch comparison, if you've played Orisa, and she's got like her little special shot where she shoots the orb, and then just sucks everything into it. It's that, but worse.
But vicious. Not just like pulling in and crushing and smushing and ripping, and basically all the additional descriptors that make it really disgusting and wonderful. Thanks, Matthew Mercer.
Yeah, and if people ever ask,
hate
hey, is Critical Role a kids show? The answer
Yes.
is no, it is not. But you should have your kids watch it anyway. Because
they need. We've got Dizzy by Nature in chat saying they need to send cast sending to the wizard guy in the tower. That would be interesting to see, like, what he knows.
Oh. Yeah, to be like, this is what we saw. Does it relate to
just
anything
like, yo,
you've
man,
read or studied?
what the hell was that? He just got ripped apart in an orb of nothing.
yeah, there's, and I don't think he would know. I don't think he would know. But it also, if they said that they saw this, it would actually give more trust to the wizard, in my opinion. Like there would be like relationship leveled up moment because because they're like describing this new magic that he can grill them on and show that, hey, you can learn from us too, because we'll go out and see these new things and then you can help study them. So that's something that would be cool.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But like, so we have the magic effects, and then we have the other guy who's just making copies of himself.
Yes.
And just ripping people to shreds.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, because that was really like, because imagine you already have like one, because he's described as like a pretty scary looking warrior, and anytime that Matt in the past has described the Kryn armor, it's like it's made to be terrifying, right? Like it's made to make noises and be scary and be intimidating. So imagine this dude is already like just jump diving at you, and then as Critical Role Stats put it, 2 copies of the Kryn Warrior apparate, cleaving down another scout into pieces. Like, what?
I'm a one-man army.
Horrific. That is
everything about those 2 Kryn warriors are scary. And then this leads into a question that we got also, and which would normally be saved for the end, except for I feel like this is a good time to put this in. After dealing with 2 NPCs that tore a lot of people apart, do you think the Mighty Nine are prepared for Xhorhas? And how well will they do in a country... And then I can't see the rest of the question because I'm an idiot. In a country full of monsters and beasts. The second part we'll get into later. But the first part, and this is from Dustin, by the way, one of our fellow... our fellow
hosts with the mosts.
Yes. For the first part of this, which we can talk about right now.
It's that movie, We Are Going to Die. I don't know. I think now that they know a little bit of what they're up against, they can at least prepare something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But they're still up a creek without a paddle.
So Caleb is extremely useful in this situation.
Yeah, we could finally get to see him counter spells.
Because like we did get to see that in that specific thing, because he counterspelled a counterspell on his spell.
Uh-huh.
So which I love that you can do. I didn't realize that you could do that, and the first time I was a sorcerer and somebody counterspelled my counterspell, I was so mad. Thanks, Chris.
Shout out.
Shout out to @Sizzlork. But it's really interesting because with these spells that can do these things, like that do a ton of damage, apparently, the counterspell just to even stop that from possibly happening is imperative. And also now he needs to watch his reactions. We saw some of that today with reactions, and I think it was talking about people moving away and like the Sentinel feat to use a reaction to stop somebody, and they had to discuss it. You have to actually watch your reactions as you get higher level, because your reaction can be used for more things.
Yeah.
Other than just hitting someone.
And you start getting more things to do as a reaction, but you only get one until the start of your next turn.
Yes. So reactions are going to become much more important. And I know this isn't on the topic of our question at all, but the but I do think that they're gonna be more prepared now that they saw this. Whether they're totally prepared for what they're gonna find in the cities themselves, I don't know.
That's the thing. So I feel like they're just gonna be normal cities just with monstrous races, is what I'm envisioning.
Yeah, I don't know. Like people, I don't know. I wonder if, because they literally, but that's later. Are we talk about that now? Like,
Yeah, we'll talk about that
we
later.
Talking about the city
Yeah.
of beasts.
So we got another thing.
Do you imagine? Do you imagine? Like, I think a lot of people are going to immediately assume, like, oh, it's gonna be like a wild place. It's gonna be all like, you know, remote and barren and like just like huts made of thatch and things like that. But no, I'm imagining like interesting, different architecture. I mean, to be fair, I am a design person, so this is biased. Literally studied architecture, but I'm excited to see that, and I don't think Matt would miss an opportunity to build us a brand new world picture. I'm excited and very like.
Yeah.
But back to some of the comments before we go too far ahead.
Yeah.
So we've got the Kryn. That Kryn warrior was very intimidating, and I liked his variation on a duplicate blocking attacks and such. So that's another thing that we learned from these manifested beings. That they attack but also protect.
They protect.
Cloud Kill was very fun. So that was a high level spell.
Yeah.
That was a spell that they don't have access to, and it was cast on them because they're grouped up in a little alcove. So from them, it should have been like, red alert, like this guy's stronger than any of our highest people as far as casting goes.
Hey, chat, what level is Cloud Kill? Let me know.
Then we've got King Sundew with a super interesting thing. I wonder if Featherfall would have counteracted being pulled by the gravity sphere. That is interesting AF.
That is such an interesting question, Sundew.
Tweet that to Matthew Mercer.
Yeah, get that one at Matt. Like, because this is his shiz, and he fully said, I think he fully said, I don't know if he was tweeting it or whether it was in thing, but he said, like, this comes from his love of science, like, this stuff.
Metaphysics.
He's been, like, his love of physics. So I think if you propose that to him, he'll be really interested, and that could be a lot of fun. Oh, so Kate in chat, Sea Monster, one of our beautiful, wonderful hosts. Hi, Kate, love you. So the Cloud Kill is 5th level, so it's not too far away from them, but it does go to show you that these people, these Kryn warriors, were higher, like much higher level than them, or at least somewhat higher level than them, which is
right.
You know.
Oh my god, reverse gravity into a gravity thing that Matt created can create all sorts of weird
creates
things,
a singularity,
weird.
makes an entire new solar system.
Yeah,
I feel like he's ready for this.
Suddenly there's a paradox and the whole world implodes, and that's the game.
It'll make a little orb of a galaxy, and then you'll attach it to Frumpkin, and then we're in Man in Black territory.
Oh no.
All right.
So yeah, fight. They barely make it out alive. It feels like. I think.
Wait! But Ford summons the
yeah,
which is like
Donkey Kong.
Oh my. Ford doing so much
random
demonic shit, yo. And I love that he specifically gave it the order: kill everything, but get me the caster. Like, nothing that like comes out of Ford's mouth when he's in the moment doesn't make me believe he's fucking evil. Like, he's like summon up demons. He's like, kill everything, but bring me the cast. That's something that in a Disney movie the villain says. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that shit is like so fucking evil.
If he talks like a villain, if he acts like a villain, he's a villain.
See, I'm still on this side that I don't think that Ford is evil.
He's the most conniving thing. Are you kidding? He's got you. He's got you fooled.
See,
yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
I may be alone in this camp, but I think that this is Travis. I think it's more Travis than it is Ford with those kind of things, and because I could totally see Travis just wanting to play like that, and he's playing a character which I'm not sure he's still completely fit into. So that's more my theory than that he's actually evil.
Well, and then Disney by Nature also says he did say kill everyone, not kill those guys. So like,
yes!
The rest of M9 is in everyone.
Yes! That's what I mean. Other members of the party were literally like, wait, don't you want to specify not us? Like, literally he sent this thing out with the command kill everyone, or
Yeah.
like, or everything, and like did not specify. Like that is.
See, but that's also a mistake that Travis would make and then not correct because
see,
it's
Jake.
I don't think so. You have to think about the fact that Travis previously played Grog, who was one of like the more like questionable, like did a lot of like vicious stuff, but never did stuff like this where we're questioning like actual evil motives. Like, I don't know. Personally, to me, this shit's more evil.
Yeah, like Jacob Honeycutt says it in chat. He's sexy Jafar. At first, you trust him because he looks good, but it's a trap. Like that is what's happening. I think.
I mean, I can't say no, but yeah.
But and also like Travis had so much time in the first campaign, like 115 episodes to just soak it all in. Because when he was Grog, it was just dumb phrase, let's fight. But he was absorbing everything. Like he's probably one of the smartest people at that table.
Jeez. I think they're all super smart with what they play and how they want to play the game.
I think they're all really, really good at what they play. I'm having fun seeing Travis play smart for the first time.
Yeah.
Like saying that we're 51 episodes freaking in. But yeah, like Ford's just playing with his powers beyond his knowledge. Well, see, that's the thing. I don't even necessarily like. I'm not like full blown conspiracy theory proposing like that Ford is like evil, like super evil, gonna be the end game baddie. Just like we know he has an evil patron.
Which, speaking of, like after the battle, like when they start kind of scoping out the area, Matt describes that little like you have this creeping thought that something's like you have a cold creeping thought about how far away you are from your promised goal to a specific entity. So it's like he knows he's not supposed to be going here. He has a job.
Yeah, it's but at the same time he's obviously disregarding this right now. So is that a point to him being good or just
I think it's him. He's currently outnumbered by the people he needs to get him to his goal. So he's got to go with the group.
I'm still against this, but
okay.
That's fine.
That's fine. That's
all
fine.
Right.
Forecast over. We're good. Okay. I'm sorry that I got us on this train. I apologize, but also, well, because you guys were talking about like, and one of the questions was like, do you think they're more concerned now that they fought in these warriors and they were so vicious and stuff like that? And I do think Jester specifically had a moment where she voiced a bit of concern and she voiced a bit of fear. And I think that also plays into the fact of like, they were joking earlier in the episode of like, oh, there's only 3. Don't look behind the mirrors. It's fine. Anyways, they were talking earlier about how there's only like 3 guards. We could take 3 like measly guards, but I'm pretty sure now they're thinking, oh fuck, what if it's 3 advanced Kryn goddamn warriors, like what we just saw, right? Like, what if, like
and
that.
Then you counter that with Papa Caduceus be like, I think it's just a town of regular people. We just found really serious people this time.
Yeah, exactly.
Papa Caduceus.
Caduceus always being the voice of reason. I love him. Oh
it's
my
the
God.
voice of reason, but also like lulling everyone into a sense of like, of like, yeah, this whole team, we got it. We're a team. We're family. We're gonna make it through this. We can handle anything. Maybe not though.
But it also makes sense that Jester was the frightened one because Caleb went down to 2 HP, but then fucking Jester got taken out and she actually missed 2 because once again it was that I took notes on this one too. The Kryn warrior manifested his echoes as a bonus action. All 3 attacked Jester. So she took several, because I think each thing had like 1 or 2 attacks, because or maybe there was another, maybe there might have also been Gnolls attacking, because she took several hits. And at one point she lost 2 death saves instantly.
I was scared.
Poor Jester has gone down too much, guys. Too much.
She's got to be questioning like, why am I with these people? I wanted adventure but not death.
Yeah, because Jester arguably comes from the sweetest, most safe backstory with like a mother who fucking loves the shit out of her and like just wants to protect her. And like,
God, yeah, like, it would tear some things apart if Jester died.
Oh
That's
god.
why I
Yeah.
was so scared.
I don't want her to
else?
become their agent
Yeah,
Coulson.
Jester's the heart of the party. She's the one that if they lose her, all of them will have moral conflict. Like all of them.
Anybody else, I could see them growing closer together from it. Jester is one that I think that they would actually fracture.
Mm-hmm.
Don't nor Jester. Yes.
Yeah, and also anyway, so they finish this fight and they talk with the 3 remaining
Yep.
Ranger.
Three out of 11.
Yeah.
There's 3 out of 11 muckmen. I don't know why they're called that, because they're from like the swampy area, but they're from Blade Garden. And they're like, hey, can we have some cloaks and rations? And they're like, fucking take them off the dead people. We're not gonna like do anything with. They're like, we can't take these bodies back. We're gonna go home now. And we can't take these bodies. So, also, how about we burn them? Cause necromancy, guys, necromancy.
Yeah, they're like, we've never seen it, but they're like, we heard tell of them raising an army. I'm like, oh, that's the last campaign. You saw that.
Yeah. So, oh, King Sundu, I hate you.
I saw it. I wasn't gonna address it.
Yeah. We'll get there when we get there. King Sundu.
Yeah. So they help dispose the bodies. They make a pyre. They get some stuff, and then they find the trail of the worm, and start heading that way.
And they're heading east, which is a lot of fun because once again, Matt got to pull up the map, and he's literally like, "You're heading this way," and it's completely off the map. Like they're literally at the edge / off the map at this point, and like, how exciting is that, guys?
I wonder if there's another map that Matt has already drawn and like sent to the person that created the original map and was like, "Hey, can you expand and then do this too?"
Obviously, it's Pac-Man physics, and they will just go through to the other side of the world.
Suddenly they'll be on the east side of the world,
and everything is fine.
Womp, womp. Oh, hey! Womp, womp, womp. Like,
100%.
I mean, it could look like that. The edge of the map is, in fact, like sort of like a big sort of dash bar. I feel like you could probably go through that.
Or could it be like in game the map that they got? Just that's as far as that person is discovered.
Well, yeah, I think that's as far as is sort of reasonable to the Empire. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, because once again, like they don't consider this. This is literally the edge of the Empire, the beginning of Xhorhas. This is what they would maximum interact with.
This is those old PS2 games where it's like, now insert disc 2 to continue playing. It's like, oh, the whole other game here.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. Like, and they start heading out. The rain's falling. They get some nice cloaks from the people.
Which luckily are treated so they don't feel the rain quite as much.
But then, like a mile out, they see some large beast in the forest, and it's got multiple appendages, and they're like, can I see how big it is? And it, snaps part of a tree off and scratches its shoulder with it. So it's pretty big.
Yep.
Yeah.
I thought it was one of those, what are the Gorillons things? They're like big
Possibly.
apes. But you described them being like much, much taller than I think the ones in the book are.
Clearly it's a Trask, guys.
Clearly.
Yes.
The one.
Hey, if there's ever going to be a place that we find a Tarrasque, it's going to be Xhorhas.
Yeah.
Like, just like that makes complete sense.
Yeah.
I believe it.
So, yeah.
Well, how big is it? I think Matt said it was over 20 foot high at the shoulder.
But that's looking at it from afar and like based on whatever that intelligence check was.
Exactly. It was looking at it from afar, and also if we keep in mind, as he was describing the big bird thing, he was like, it's maybe 20 feet wingspan?
Yeah.
40 foot wingspan? And then in the end, it was a 60 foot wingspan.
Yeah.
So hey, this could be a 60 foot high thing crawling around just as similarly as that other measurement went. Thanks.
So,
Also, we did get another reminder that there are 2 moons in this universe.
Yes,
I always
love
forget about that.
And we couldn't find either of them.
Nope.
So that's cool. But as they're traveling, they get to encounter a interesting sight of a bunch of bugbears, which
over like a carcass of some like moose
animal.
or something. Yeah,
which is a hunting party, which I think is really interesting just in and of itself, that there are a bunch of bugbears without goblins doing their own thing, which is interesting. The fact that when bugbears are generally represented, especially in Wizards of the Coast stuff, they're represented as higher level goblins.
Mm-hmm.
He is making his own thing with it, which I think is really cool. He's taking the general stereotypes of monstrous races that we've been given in the
Monster Manual.
Yes, but also Volo's Guide. Because that's when it was officially defined to be player races. Spoiler alert. And taking and making them actual races with like society in some sort of sense.
Right.
So seeing this group of bugbears and then that are like hunting and gathering, and then suddenly the big bird.
Yeah,
Suddenly we get all Sesame Street up in here, and Big Bird comes along, and
oh
suddenly,
Lord, he coming! Here he comes!
And
yeah, they hear the chatters from like they've like heard the language before, not understands it. Caleb does tongues, and they're like, "Quick, grab your stuff! It's coming and run!"
Yep.
And so
I'm really glad Caduceus is passive perception. Let them look up.
Well,
I always have to remember that when I'm playing games. Look up, because there's a lot of times that you're like scouting around, but if you look up, you might see something.
Oh no, the bugbears have AirPods in; they can't hear the rock.
Sunday, you need to stop.
But yeah, so these bugbears. Yeah, the bugbears take off, and you just a massive 60-foot, tip-to-tip bird comes and starts picking them off one by one.
Yeah, and once again, we get those beautiful, thank you, Mercer, for those descriptions of them picking up, of it picking up the bugbears and ripping them apart and enjoying a nice meal in the air.
And then they land, and you still see some like organs and the talons, and
yeah.
But then again, the Mighty Nine is left like, do we help? Do we run? What do we do? And so they end up sending like illusions towards the bugbears to like further like, hey, bird, go that way.
I would have tried, and I don't know if this is too high of a spell, but illusory terrain in this case would have been super useful.
Takes an hour.
And I don't. Okay, does it really?
Yeah.
Well, make it stop.
Yeah, you have to take time to cast it.
Okay, well, there goes that plan. But like any sort of like illusion to like cover yourself, like just anything like an illusion right above yourself, such that when you look down upon it, just looks like normal ground.
Yep. Well, but when it did stop, okay, because Ford put out the fake mastodon, and then Lil Knot tried to put out one too, but it wasn't as good because it was just an image. They had to sort of like reveal themselves for a second and then hide again. And it seemed like when Matt was describing it that the bird was using other senses and starting to look in their direction. So as much as you might want to do like an illusion, it would have to be one that contains like that gets the other senses, because it seemed almost like it was smelling them or sensing it in a different way.
Echolocation.
Like something. I don't know.
That's fake.
The birds are giant dinosaurs, so movement? I don't know. Heat? Sense? I don't know. Something else.
I still feel like sight is a bird, especially a rock's primary sense, because it saw the illusions. But had they made an illusion above themselves of illusory terrain, like I know it's not the same. I'm not saying use that spell, but like make some sort of illusion just like of a sheet that happens to look like the ground, and then y'all just hide under it by lying on the ground. That would have been pretty good, I think.
Yeah, I think they would have been fine, because it wouldn't have seen them until it landed to actually inspect.
Yeah, and the only reason it would have had to even check to see it was, do you think that suddenly, there's a specific spot that looks slightly weird. Do I think that's...
I don't think it would have.
Nah.
Yeah, I think that would have just been a better plan than what they did, but it's hindsight.
Well, yeah.
Hindsight is 20/20, same as a rock's vision.
I thought it was good. I thought what they did was pretty clever. For a moment, Ford was like, "Hey, we getting up and running?" They were like, "Wait, no, we're lying down. We're lying down." And I was like, "That's probably good." And then I was really hoping for a second when when Ford made the mastodon and it was actually going for it, and Matt was describing the bugbears sort of taking off. I was like, "Oh, good, they're gonna get away."
Yeah, I was like, yes,
No.
yes, please.
No, I was really hoping they would get away, guys. The poor bugbears. Whoa.
But nope,
So
they get eaten.
you know,
They
so
get
you know,
eaten.
if you Google mastodon, you don't come up with the animal first. You
I'm
come
not.
up with the
Oh,
band.
the band. Yeah.
Yeah.
Second
And
is the best Power Ranger.
And I didn't know what a mastodon was until 5 seconds ago. So now I know.
Fun.
Well, there you go. Now you know.
But we also
The more
learned
you know.
that another fun spell that Ford has is Dominate Monster or Charm Monster.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I forget which one of those that came out in Xanathar's.
Yeah, because they talked about, like, they sort of debated that for a second. They were like, "But if it doesn't work,
Why don't we just ask it for a ride?" And he's like, "I got the thing to do to the monsters."
yeah, but if it doesn't work, you're suddenly facing this monster that's gonna eat you in one chomp."
Mm-hmm.
Like,
But it was a not a but like a Jorhashian rock, which like apparently is different. B, it had a bunch of ruffled feathers, like it wasn't like at full health, it was injured. So like maybe they could have fought it.
I think that
it took out a troop of bugbear. Bugbear are big.
But narratively, I don't think Matt would have killed him
though.
that quickly.
Yeah, and also
Because Matt is for the sake of fun. He didn't make Jester kill Sprinkle and Nugget.
For the sake of fun, I won't do a murder.
But also, I think that they could have fought it just based on the description, but also it would have made them finally fight something from the air, which they haven't done yet in this campaign.
Yeah, it would all been they would have just needed range.
But it was totally an optional fight, and I think they made the smart decision to not fight it.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
to not engage that. Oh gosh, especially
Because if they would have tried to fight it, they wouldn't have met the best NPC ever.
Yeah, we have a new friend.
I'm so excited.
You want to tell us about our new friend?
Our new friend is wonderful, and I love him. After they get up and they go and are like getting ready to leave. Who was it? Caduceus spots something?
I think there's multiple people saw them.
Yeah, like that. There's still a Gnoll on the ground.
Bugbear.
But
Bugbear.
Sorry. Sorry. I know everything about this character that I so love, and he's obviously playing dead. So they're like, let's go poke him and get information.
Like, hey friend, we know you're sleeping.
Yes, but the rat's gone. Maybe you can help us, and we
got food.
Maybe we can help you.
They quickly do this thing where they go into stereotypes like, we have food, we'll be your friends, we give you food. It's like, nah, come on, it's an intelligent beast.
Well, to be fair, everything that Matt said about bugbears leading up to it wouldn't, if they didn't know what the group was, he has specifically talked about all the stereotypes before they met this character.
That's true.
So
like you typically see them in the charge or leading goblins to like do things for them. So yeah, I get you.
Which also makes me think that he's done some study about how he wants to differ that with what we're about to talk about. So I don't know how to pronounce his name, and that makes me really sad. Gluzo. All right. So Gluzo is the bugbear that they find, and he is wonderful in every way. Because like they're talking to him, and at first it's just Not and Caleb talking, and then they realize he can speak Broken Common, but the Broken Common's actually pretty good. And like the voice,
he speaks pure Skyrim NPC.
He sounds like Skyrim. He sounds like he's from Skyrim. It's so good. His accent is so good. He sounds like the Jarl, the first Jarl you meet in Skyrim, and I love him so much.
It was my favorite part was I when I rewatched the episode, as soon as he started talking, all the people in chat was like, "Is he from Skyrim? Did Matt do voices in Skyrim? Hey, was he in Skyrim?" And then I saw one. Why does he sound a little Canadian?
he does. It's a little Canadian. I did not see. I've never played Skyrim, so I didn't
More
have
like
that.
Swedish.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was some kind of like accent. I was like, ooh.
It was fun. It was a good one.
When you just said it was like some kind of, I was expecting because you.
I can see.
And then you said Swedish. I was like, I thought you were gonna say some icy northern country. So
No.
like,
He's one of them icy northern catches.
Continue.
We are. So we get to talking to Gluso, and they get information first about the river that they need to cross, which
I swim.
rivers are hard. Rivers are hard, man. Unless you have somebody that can control water. But
With their very
they also,
special
like,
power that only they can do.
They get to talking to him, and he's very much not the stereotypes that Matt had literally just described like 10 minutes before.
Mm-hmm.
He's intelligent, he's wary, he's smart in some senses.
Mm-hmm.
Probably not book smart, but he's like knows enough to like not reveal too much, but at the same time still be helpful. Gluso, just in general, the way that he's interacting with this party is like
a guy.
I help you, you help me. That we are normal people here, which goes into the like what we're talking about, because we get a lot of questions for Gluso about like where he's from and like what kind of cities are there, and they talk about the city of monsters.
And like he was kind of like, I don't live here. Like I live over there where there's a town
like,
and my home.
Dare. Like, yeah, I'm not normally from this area.
I own property.
Yeah, like we
I have a credit line.
We're clearly we're a hunting party doing a mission for someone. We wouldn't just be out here like running around. And he even describes the dude, you know what I mean? They're hired by Baron Visco, and
he's a
they're
dick, and I don't like him.
Yeah, he's kind of a douche, but you know, but
and like I haven't ridden on anybody since I was a baby bear.
Yeah,
he's like he had a life. He was brought up, and like
yeah,
I have a mortgage. Yes.
He's being like, but can I ride on you? But can I ride on you? But I can't ride.
Like I really want to test your buoyancy.
Fair, like.
Man.
So that goes into the second part of Dustin's question of how will they do in a country full of beasts and monsters, and the answer is, I think they're going to do better than they would anticipated before coming to Xhorhas. Actually, if this is the kind of people that they can talk to, they might be able to actually like pull off some of this, because that was some of my big worries with them. But they
have to leave behind their like immediate response to like we're forced to action. We've got to fight everything that looks like a monster. Like, this is the break the stereotype episode coming up. It feels like.
Yeah, but also they've broken already stereotypes with not in the first place.
But she wasn't really a goblin that we.
Yes, but for a long time they didn't know that.
True.
So all the rest of the characters have already broken a stereotype. Yeah, you know, the first is your hardest, as you know. So it's just like so it's just like they've done it before. Let's see if we can do it again. Sort of situation. I think that they're gonna be fine if they don't act too rashly.
Yeah. Because we're going to the City of Beasts. Like, that's literally the name of it. But it's also, Asaris, I believe, is how Gluso said it. And it's a sort of thing like, well, who calls it the City of Beasts? Who assumes that? Like, what, like, are you going to it assuming, oh, it's beasts, so it's these wild animals? No, it's these cultured people who just aren't human. Like, just because they're not human, like, doesn't mean they're wild people. Like,
they're too wild and crazy bugbear.
Too wild and crazy.
Let's see. I want to read this. Wow, I think they will do worse than they have in the Empire and or Menagerie Coast. They have trouble talking to folks and civilizations. they are used to. I imagine they will have to work very hard to understand the culture in a city surrounded by what they were raised to think of as monsters. Exactly. And like, I think they're going to catch on to that real quick. Base, like, I think this bugbear is going to do like wonders for them as people. Because like it's called the City of Beasts, and the beasts call it the City of Beasts. So in my mind, that's sort of like, if we call it this, people are going to assume terrible things happen here, but they'll leave us alone so we can have our nice, like, perfect civilization.
I don't think it's going to be perfect.
Well, but before the Kryn did their stuff and like made it not perfect.
No, even then, I like every civilization has its problems.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be normal quotation marks.
And
which...
they do ask Luso, like, are we cool to go in there? And he's kind of like, you're cool, you're cool, you're cool. You and you are going to have an issue. Like,
that's my favorite accent that you've ever made, Justin.
Perfect, spot on, 100%.
Damn it! No, yes, it was Canadian, wasn't it?
Yep.
But yeah, so we obviously we have 2 humans in the party, and then we have an extra. Matt, did you want to touch on this one? We have an interesting issue with Yasha.
Yeah, so one of the questions, the very last one, any theories as to why Yasha's people weren't included as expected visitors or traders to the Bugbear Cities? So they're like, are we going to have any issues? And he points to 3 of them, Caleb, Bo, and Yasha. Caleb and Bo, because, you know, they're humans going into this place that's called the City of Beasts. But then Yasha, it's interesting because she is from Xhorhas. And so, and Jess was talking about it earlier, there is like this theory that's super out there that this is not Yasha's original form. That maybe she looked different before she became an ASMR.
To be fair, not just happened.
Yeah!
So, and that to me was more out there. That to me was more outlandish than the idea of Yasha having a different form before, because she has talked about changing, and she has talked about a big life event. She has talked about how the Stormlord saved her and took her out of literal hell, almost. Speaking of which, we didn't touch on the fact that they were walking around and they saw shards of glass that indicated
lightning strikes.
Interesting lightning strikes, which I kind of wanted to, like, curious about that. Wondering if it's going to come up later, but skipping it for now.
We also skipped the fact that when they crossed the bridge, the bugbear like has a religion.
Yes, that was another another thing that when you were discussing you know, a lot of the indicators we were having of Gluso being like not what Matt was just describing as a normal bugbear, we have the fact that he took a moment to stop and pray, and he held a medallion, and Jester tried to inquire, but like you said, he was very smart about it, and he sort of tucked it away and steered the conversation in a different direction. But later on, while she was trying to tattoo him, she saw what it was. And when Matt whispered to her what it was, she audibly gasped.
Yeah. It's interesting. I think that maybe he's trying to play into more like character race sort of things, with like making them NPCs with levels. In this kind of case, maybe he's a paladin of some sort. I don't think he would make another cleric, if only because we have to. But I think a paladin could be possible.
That's true.
That's interesting.
I didn't even think of that. I thought it was just,
I hadn't thought of that either.
It's a bugbear that is religious in some way.
I hadn't thought of a class.
Yeah, that's why I'm kind of thinking, like, Volo's guide gives all these character races. Why not give them levels too?
I mean, that's a lot to keep track of as someone running a game. Of like, oh, this guy can do this feat. Ugh.
Yeah, but I don't think he's very high level. If a 3rd or 4th level paladin isn't much, especially for somebody who knows all of the rules of D&D like Matt does. So you type up and D&D Beyond can type up like a really quick like 3rd or 4th level paladin character like within 10 minutes, and have it fully fleshed out enough that he can make up anything else that he doesn't have on the fly. It's possible.
It's possible.
So that's just my kind of theory with what he might be stat wise. Yeah, I think he might actually be like a character that has levels.
Yeah,
because of that.
I hadn't thought of that. Because earlier when it first happens, he like stops and is praying, and Jester like comes over and is like, "Are you praying? Like, who are you praying to?" And he just says like something along the lines of the light.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And then like tucks it away into his like chesty, hairy chest.
He's one of the guys
which
from
I
Destiny.
love. Yeah, but then later on, when he couldn't hide it, and Jester investigated it and gasped. Yep. My first thought was that it was the Traveler, that it's a symbol of the Traveler, because it was almost an excited gasp, and I could see Jester being really excited by something like that. Like,
see, but then I went a different way of like Matt was like something. It's this religion, but I want you to gasp, and that's what he said and walked away. She just did it. That's just what I think.
I went a different way. I think it was more, and like it wasn't necessarily like that big on Jester, but like say like in chat Seeger Falk said, I think he worships Saren Ray.
Oh shit!
That is really fun. I really like that.
That would be so cool if Saren Ray has like a cool area on this side. Oh yeah. Ooh.
That would be a like. Laura was like, "Oh, I know that, but
yeah,
we can't say
that is another one she would
know it." Yeah,
no, you're absolutely right. That is another one that Laura would gasp for. I think that's a really good fun one, and it makes sense because earlier, like I said, he said the light, and wasn't Saren Ray?
What was her name? She had like a different
bright shining star or something like that. The morning star.
Something like that.
The dawn star? No, that's different.
That's the Dawnfather's a thing.
The Dawnfather's
I forget what Saren Ray's new name in his world is.
The Everlight.
Everlight. Nice.
You beautiful, wonderful
I think that's
people.
it now. I like that.
Seeger Falk. Yeah.
That's a really good one. I had not thought of that, and I love it. You guys are all beautiful.
Also, phonetically type how we can say your name so we can take it properly.
Yeah, I'm so sorry if we're pronouncing your name wrong. We really appreciate you.
Yes, so that was actually one of the questions we got as well. Was what do we think Jester saw hanging from the bugbear's neck? There was our answer.
There we go, guys.
He's a Balchinian. Seeger Falka.
Seeger Falka. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. So thank you to Seeger Falka, and that's most of what we have. They bed down for the night with their little bugbear friend. And
they even include him. They include him in the bubble, and that's even like we make friends everywhere we go. And I'm like, yeah, thank you. You said
that's what you should do.
That's what you should focus on. Like you've made these friends, and look, you're better off than you were when you were being attacked by fire giants.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that 10-foot hut is getting super cramped.
It's filled with love.
Couldn't people technically sleep half in, half out of the thing as long as it's not Caleb?
I don't think so. I thought it had to be closed.
No, because you can let
like
anybody
walk
in and out.
It.
Yeah.
There's no door,
okay.
but I don't know if you can.
As long as Caleb allows you to walk in and out of it, you can be like half in, half out technically.
Yeah. Was there anything else? Was that all the questions?
No, actually,
I mean the way it ends. Sorry.
But no, if you go with the ending, then we have two kind of unrelated questions.
Okay.
Okay.
I thought it was real interesting and more to the fact that like this is going to be some sort of set up civilization of monstrous races, because as they approach, that's like the city looks lively and well lit, and that's not something that you would really get if it was just like shambles and like I'm a bugbear and this is my hovel, you get out.
Exactly. Once again, those assumptions of a beast city.
It'd be like, morning, Jeff. Hey, Louie.
Yeah.
Monstrous names. I looked them up.
I love it. It's perfect.
Yes. So that is kind of how we end the episode. But before we end our episode, we have two other questions that we got that weren't really related to anything that happened specifically, but I think are interesting to talk about. So the first one, this one comes from our favorite friend, Dizzy by Nature, favorite trademark. Can Jester magically paint Knot to look like Veth? Maybe it's directly on the skin, or maybe it's masked, but either way, I think it would be a generous gesture for Jester to do. P.S. Sorry, but I had to go for the tongue twister. Thank you, Dizzy by Nature, for making me say that. So we talked about this, and we were all kind of like, no, not really.
I don't think it works that way.
So we looked at the thing itself.
Yeah.
And
because the magic paints are for objects, like, and it does specify a few objects. I'm usually never the one that knows the technical stuff, but one of the only magical items that I have ever owned as a PC is the magic paints. It is one of my favorite objects. And yeah, you can paint objects, as I said, and like as they were discussing, like you have to use sort of like a surface, you have to use up a material to paint. So I get the premise of maybe like, well, you're using her and transforming her into like that, but I think you would just be creating almost like a new, like she had that fake mask. I think you would almost just be creating a new mask, and like it specifies that it makes objects. When you're making, like, you can make certain things with it. You can make food, but it won't be like amazing food. You can make jewelry, but it'll be like costume jewelry. You're not gonna fully transform a person with the magical pigments, I don't think.
Yeah, and also another thing with it is that they don't really know what Veth looks like. Like, there are no pictures. You can't just pull up, hey, here's a selfie I took.
Yeah, look at my Facebook from 2 years ago.
So, and then like, remember all the times that Jester tried to paint them to like look like Yanti and stuff like that, and sometimes it went really badly. What if Matt made her roll a performance check and it went really badly, and she like made a very awkward, like, Picasso face? Like, poor Picasso Beth. Like, no.
From Dizzy, I meant for her to meet her husband. What's he gonna say when they meet? What's she gonna say? If they truly love each other, they could get through it. Yeah, I think Not's gonna disguise herself and then be like, I have something that I need to tell you, like something. It's still me, but this is what I look like, and then she'll drop it.
That's such a good idea, because like I think that's better than a face mask would be. Like, just, you can already disguise yourself. And I guess now that you say that, I forgot that she has disguised herself as Veth before.
Yeah, so she could make herself temporarily look that way, explain the situation, and then drop it.
Yes, which I think is fine.
Yeah.
But
I'm already tearing up thinking about that scene.
An interesting thing. But they would have to actually rescue him. And I don't think Veth is gonna turn down anybody rescuing him at this point. So,
and also Kate, she's been sending him gifts. She didn't until recently start writing who they're from, but that's still to be like, P.S. I'm a goblin now. Like, I don't think that's something that you write over a letter. P.S. I was murdered and now I look like this.
Yes, and then we have one more question, which I think goes back to even trying to rescue Veth. Do you think that the Mighty Nine? Do you think that if the Mighty Nine get into a spot of trouble, or in order to secure Yeza's safety, would they hand over the beacon? So we all had different reactions to this, and I just realized I've been saying Veth instead of Yeza recently. Oops. But they're rescuing Yeza, and yes, not Veth. Veth is not. So
Veth is not who.
Exactly. So the beacon that they've been carrying around with them, the thing that's been giving those little things of luck,
is sometimes commonly referred to.
I have two answers to this. One, if it's just to get them out of trouble, I think they would be like 44% willing to hand over the beacon to get them out of trouble, because I don't think it would actually help them. If it was to secure Yeza's safety, I think 100% they would give up the beacon to secure Yeza's safety. And you guys might have other percentages, but those are my actual analysis.
So when we were reading this question beforehand, it was after we were talking about the paints, and I think they like should have already made a decoy beacon for this moment. And like they'll make it, and it's not gonna hum. It's not gonna like look like the actual one when it's inspected, but it could like, give us Yeza. We'll leave this here. We're just gonna go, and like they can start escaping. But like, I think they're gonna fight for that beacon as long as they can if it becomes like something that like is fought over.
Yeah, I don't think they'll hand it over to anyone. I mean, like, on one hand, I think they will hand it over to anyone they sort of see as evil. On the other hand, I also feel like they want to keep it selfishly because they enjoy it. I hadn't thought of like what you said, Matt. I think that's a good idea to like paint a replica, and like I said, because it does make like as I said, it describes in the magic pigments. It says like it makes something that looks like nice jewelry, but then it's like costume level, like the cost of it, the value of it is slightly below. So like you said, it won't be actually magic. If they try and do a like sense magic on it, they're gonna know it's not, but it could look good enough for like maybe a quick handoff or something. I see them much more likely, you know, pretending to give it up and then immediately having a plan to take it back.
Yeah. Well, and like I'm starting to think about it more, and Kate kind of says it. I think they will, but not as part of that. They will find out it's a priceless cultural artifact or object. I think once they get to this town and like all previous notions of monstrous races are gone, they find the Kryn people and start talking to them and like, oh, this is what that does. We have it. Like.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was gonna say. I was gonna say, especially what I'm imagining, especially is Jester being like, "But it helps them make babies, guys. We have to let them make babies." Like, I just assume Jester and her sweet darling heart is gonna be like, "Oh, but they need this." Like, you know what I mean? I feel like if they do get into the story, if they do meet the right characters, if they do hear the right part of history and why they need it, if it means enough to them, then they'll give it up. But I do still think a large part of the party is kind of selfish and they'll want to keep it. I think, like, once again, I think it's going to come down to Jester and someone plucking at her heartstrings.
I'm like waiting for the like, oh shit, it does help them make babies.
So I'm gonna disagree on this.
Of course you are, Ben.
Fine, whatever, Ben.
So my thinking is that the Kryn have already attacked. Like, I think that they're gonna find these monstrous races and be enthralled by what they see in this, but I don't think the Kryn are a part of that. I think the Kryn are their own separate entity that are completely different than what's been going on, and the Kryn have already attacked their homeland. They've attacked a lot of things, and they fucking tore up. Like, the Kryn have tore up the people using their dunamancy with those spells. That's insane. I would not trust anybody who would do something like that.
I mean, to get back something that helps them live.
No, that's the thing. I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm disagreeing that I don't think they would give it up for their own heart. I think they would give it up to get them Yesa back.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so we're definitely on opposite ends of this. And that's very cool. I like that.
I do think Caleb's going to need like a lot of coaxing because he's too much like, this is mine, I'm selfish, I want it, it's magic, you can't have it.
Yes, but he would do it for naught.
Meh.
I am wholeheartedly thinking that if it came down to saving Yeza or keeping the beacon, he would save Yeza, because then Not's gonna help him in the future with whatever he needs.
I think, like, as you're saying this, I think it honestly depends on if Caleb views the dodecahedron as giving as a gateway into helping him with his ultimate goal of changing reality and changing the past. If he honestly believes that this is the object to help him do it, I do not think he will give it up, even for Not.
I think that he has enough humanity left in him that he could.
And you know what? And I think it's the sort of thing. I think it's the sort of thing where it's not even necessarily like, it's not even a hardcore evil thing. It's a thing where, like, in his mind, if he can have this power, he can also fix Not's problem. You know what I mean? I think
it's
he'll
that, like,
rationalize it.
Yeah, moral ambiguity of like the whole Doctor Doom. I want to save the world this way, but like people are gonna die. I'm like, no, that's evil. It's really not though.
So they've learned as much as they can from the beacon by themselves. They can either give it back to the wizard that they had. He can use it as a bargaining chip for his own self. But if they don't get out of here and they die, Caleb has to preserve himself if he ever wants to do something. Like, Caleb needs to survive for Caleb to complete Caleb's mission. And if Caleb doesn't survive, then the whole thing goes to shit anyway. It doesn't matter. So the first thing will be survival. The second thing will be, is there good, like, if they can get out of there and they have to sacrifice the beacon, Caleb's gonna choose keeping himself alive over sacrificing himself and the beacon. That's just where I'm at.
No,
So,
I like it. I like this discussion. I think it's very cool. And on that note,
yes, I do want to thank King Sundu for that question that got us into that like 15.
Yeah, we just had a lengthy discussion. We're a little bit over time, guys, and I'm really sorry about it, but thank you so much for being here with us.
Yes.
If you're listening on the podcast and you have a chance, come out and be part of these discussions with us. We do them on Twitch Sunday nights. If not, just enjoy the podcast. We super appreciate all y'all's listening, participating, discussing. Make sure you do all those button smashy things with the
smash the likes and subscribe.
The likes and the subscribes and the ratings and
leave us a review somewhere.
More about it, and if you can do so politely, you can tell us what you don't like, and maybe we'll stop doing it. But no promises. Mostly, just say nice things to us.
Yeah. So we keep our little Google Doc form that you can fill out on our Twitter in our pinned tweet. So please check that out. If you ever have any questions, we always retweet it after the episode, leading up onto our Sunday show, and then that's what we do, and we will take your questions into consideration and have a 15-minute debate about them sometimes.
Sometimes, accidentally, we'll go over the limit.
Yeah.
But you guys were awesome. We super appreciate you. Thank you for hanging out. This was episode 127 of Critical Reroll, covering episode 51 of Critical Role. I'm Jess, go_JG on the Twitch and Twitters and all the important places. And once again, I'm your good Yanti friend in the City of Beasts.
I'm your favorite hobgoblin with blue nose, Matt. That's Matt_Abernathy on Twitter. Follow me for fun stuff. I make shirts.
And I am Ben at Bardic Puppy on Twitter, and sometimes I'm apparently a bugbear. Who knows?
Yeah. Everybody say bye.
Bye.